This is Keep On Cooking, a podcast for people who love cookbooks and want to know more about the authors. It's also a great place to get a weekly dose of culinary inspiration to keep things pumping in the kitchen. So grab a cookbook and keep on cooking. I'm Dustin Harder, and this is Keep On Cooking. Hello and welcome to Keep On Cooking, the only podcast dedicated to plant-based cookbooks. I'm your host, Dustin Harder, and life's too short to be basic. And he didn't come here to blend in, honey. It's my husband, David Rossetti. How are you doing, dear?
Good. You didn't come to blend in either.
I mean, I guess that's
honey.
right. Actually, I feel like I'm trying to blend in all the time. It's a problem.
I was going to say, you're the hollow to my ween.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Wow. It's Halloween week.
It is Halloween.
Halloween. Spooky
Halloween.
Halloween. At this point, hopefully everyone listened to the Halloween episode last week and you got yourself some Halloween candies and some Halloween recipes for you to take to your Halloween parties. We ourselves had a Hocus Pocus viewing with some friends and super fun, lots of treats, lots of tricks and treats. David, Book, you're super busy right now. What are you working on?
I am about to open. A previews will start for White Christmas.
White Christmas, y'all.
At the Marriott Theater here in Lincolnshire, actually, technically Illinois.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So if you're around the Chicago area, go check out David and White Christmas.
We have 8 shows a week for from Halloween through the first of the year.
Yeah.
Plenty of time.
So many shows. I'm basically not going to see David for Christmas this year. And also, you probably won't hear from him. This might be, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll try and squeeze. You get time off here. That we'll try and squeeze it in.
I get mornings.
Because I like to have you in the intro. And what have we eaten lately? So yesterday I made some cornbread biscuits, cornmeal biscuits and gravy.
Delish.
Yeah, those were super tasty. Then we've loaded the keeponcooking.com blog. I was gonna say blogspot like it's 1999. Blog up with lots of pumpkin recipes. There's pumpkin pecan bites. There's pumpkin cranberry bread. There's pumpkin bolognese. There's like 3-4 other pumpkin ones that are not coming to.
That bolognese is very tasty. And
it's
very easy.
Yeah, very easy, very easy, and delicious. Absolutely divine. Well, today we've got Shane Martin on, and we recorded this when we were on vacation. So we took the equipment to this cabin we were staying at, and you'll see in the recording, if you watch it, like my video is very bad, I think, because the internet connection was really bad. But also, one of the big things that came out of this for me, and I don't know, of course I've talked about my love of Reba McEntire on this podcast, but David, who sings the original Does He Love You with Reba McEntire?
The songstress Linda Davis.
And in this interview, I'm talking to Shane, and he's talking about his past, and he was like, oh, and I was a guitar player in Nashville for a while, and this, that, and I had this weird feeling in my gut. I was like, I just have this feeling, and I was like, who? And then he started listing names, and like, it might be in the interview, I don't know, but because I can't recall if it was before or after, but he was like, and Linda Davis, and I was like, stop right there, you don't have to tell me anything else. I was like, tell me everything about Linda Davis. I'm obsessed with Linda Davis. I love her so much.
You are. And I was in the room when this happened, and you should have seen him. He was like, stop right there. Please stop. Let me soak this in. Wait, what?
The funny thing was, is like, Shane's like, I haven't seen her in 20 years. I was like, it doesn't matter. Tell me everything.
It doesn't matter. Tell me everything.
And he did. She was a very lovely person, come to find out. I finally did see her. You know, I saw her play with Reba in the 90s, but I finally saw her play on her own. David and I went out to this very tiny, would you call it a theater even, or more like a community spot?
Yeah, it was more like a community space.
I guess it was a theater that had theater. Oh, it was an old movie theater, actually.
Yeah.
Just small, very small town. I'm talking, you drive through, there's one street light. But she played there with her husband, and someone else was on the bill too. And, you know, it was great because I got to see her, but I was a little disappointed because I know all of her albums, and she didn't do anything from any of them.
Correct. And then she had someone come up and sing with her. It was very sweet, but it was also like,
she picked someone from the community to sing Does He Love You with her. So that is the song she sang that I knew, but she only sang half of it too.
That's correct.
Sang half of it.
That's correct.
and gave her the Linda Davis part because she's got that big singity sing moment there. Am I deceiving myself? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, we'll move on from Linda Davis. Just wanted to give that little side note here that I nearly was like, Shane, we're clearly best friends now because you
Yep.
played guitar with Linda Davis. So like, anyway, moving on, we have some new books coming out down the line here. Soap's Plant Kitchen is coming out in hardcover April 15th in 2025. This is by Sophie Waplington. I love that last name
That is
so
a
much.
great name.
Sophie Waplington. She is the creator of Soph's Plant Kitchen, a certified personal trainer with a passion for food. Sophie has built up a huge, loyal, and engaged following of fans crying out for a cookbook from her, and here it is. From the ultimate portable breakfast burrito, power bowls like satay chickpea and quinoa, meal prep lunches for when you're on the go, like chimichurri lentil and pasta salad. I love saying the word chimichurri.
Chimichurri lentil.
Yeah, chimichurri lentil and pasta salad, and high protein sweet treats like lemon drizzle and chocolate baked oats. The book is packed with recipes that will become your new go-to favorites. And to make it even easier to hit your goals, each recipe contains grams of protein and fiber per portion. So I love that. All too often, people put out books and they say their protein or their whatever, if it's a diet, and they don't put macros in it. They don't, and I'm like, well, then so you're
How do
just
we know?
yeah. If I'm actually following my macros and logging my meals, then how am I supposed to? So anyway, I appreciate this, Soph. Miss Waplington. It's the perfect combination of mouth-watering deliciousness and fitness inspo. Here for it. Sophie's Plant Kitchen will fuel you for life. What else we got, David?
Also, we've got coming to your nearest bookseller, Powered by Plants, nutrient-loaded 30-minute meals to help you thrive. Not just live, but thrive. This is out actually today on October 29th. So you indulge in scrumptious. How did I really sound that out? Sumptuous and scrumptious 30-minute plant-based recipes that deliver the essential nutrients you need for optimal health from the founder of Food Revolution Network. Ocean Robbins, founder of and CEO of the Food Revolution Network, and Nicole Dandria Russert decode the nutrients we all need, not just protein, fats, and carbs, but also fiber, omega-3s, and essential minerals like selenium, calcium, and zinc, and provide you with the knowledge to make a plant-based diet work for you.
I love that. I'm looking at the book right now because this one's got the macros. I was like, because it just said all that. Now, is it gonna have the macros? And it does. So look at that. And listen, Nicole is a friend of ours. We know her in Atlanta. She is lovely, wonderful. She's actually going to be on the podcast to talk about this book. I'm gonna have her on here in the next few weeks. We're gonna chitty chat through the book. I love having, it's. I'm having her on because this podcast is about the food of it all, right? So it's really my goal to go to the recipes in this podcast. So sometimes we have books like this where somebody wrote the front matter and the science matter of it, and then someone else wrote the recipes. And for me, I want to have the food person on. Not that I don't want to have the other person on, but I really go for the food person because I want to hear what were they thinking when they wrote their recipes? What was the process? What should we be thinking of when we make the recipes? Happened earlier on in this podcast. There was a book. I won't get into the details on it, but I had someone on who did not develop the recipes and they just wrote the front matter to the book. And while it was interesting, I found myself not getting the information I was hopeful to get about the recipe. So I'm really excited to have Nicole on to talk through these recipes. It's going to be really fun. Now we're going to do some fun facts for you. Okay. So bread, let's talk about bread because we're all about the bread today because we're talking about baking vegan bread at home. So bread is believed to have been invented around 10,000 BCE. David, what is that? Before Christ?
Before Christ.
Yeah, okay. So somebody fact check that. Let us know. During the Neolithic era, when humans first began cultivating grains like wheat and barley, the earliest forms of bread were likely unleavened flatbreads made by grinding grains into a coarse flour, mixing it with water, and cooking it over a fire.
I think about stuff like that. I'm like, how did they even think of this? Like,
baby rocks and sticks.
Sure, but like, how do you think to mix things together? Anyway. But these early breads were simple and dense, evolving gradually over millennia as humans learned to mill grains more finely and experiment with fermentation processes that led to leavened bread. That's another thing. Like,
yeah,
where do you think Was there like some like lazy
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like it's an
caveman or early
accident.
person that like just like left it out and
Uh-huh.
they're like, well, it's fermented, but like,
Well,
we
but
can't really
wait,
waste it.
they would even have to be like, "Well, what would
Well,
this
what
be
is this?
called?
Right.
What would this be called?" That should have been the other fact. We'll look up fermentation
Yes, for
sometime.
sure. But the discovery of bread marks a significant development in human history, coinciding with the advent of agriculture and the shift from nomadic lifestyles to settling farming communities.
Well, so let's get into some bread then, shall we? Today's book is Baking Vegan Bread at Home, Beautiful Everyday and Artisan Plant-Based Breads by Shane Martin. Shane is the creator of Shane and Simple, where simple, wholesome, plant-based eating takes center stage. This blog is all about proving that healthy, delicious meals don't have to be complicated. Shane's recipes focus on using easy to find ingredients, minimal prep, and maximum flavor, making plant-based cooking accessible to everyone, which we're a fan of here at Keep On Cooking. From busy families to those just dipping their toes into vegan living. Now he is making bread making simple for the now he is making bread making simple for the home cook with Baking Vegan Bread at Home, Beautiful Everyday and Artisan Plant-Based Bread by Shane Martin.
That's right. And speaking of new books, the follow up to this book that you're going to talk about is the Vegan Bread Machine Cookbook.
That's right.
Splendid plant based and dairy free vegan breads is actually available now for pre order and will be released in November 19th.
November 19th.
Ready for
sure
Christmas.
To be another good one. I've seen the PDF. It's fantastic.
But going back to baking vegan bread at home, beautiful everyday and artisan plant-based breads by Shane Martin. In more than 70 recipes that range from the familiar and kid-friendly, Shane reveals how fun and delectable it is to bake vegan breads. With everyday sandwich loaves and elegant French and Italian-inspired artisan rounds and loaves, and with lots of sweet and cheesy filled breads and quick breads, baking vegan bread at home serves up a feast of honest and healthy homemade goodness.
Ooh, I love myself a sweet bread and a cheesy bread.
Mhm.
We're kind of freaks for bread here.
True.
I had to style some photos yesterday, and you were at rehearsal, and you came home, and there was a bag of breadsticks, and there's now a half a baguette freezing in the freezer, and I had made those cornmeal biscuits.
I can see it right now.
I know you keep looking at them. I love bread so much. Anyways, listen, that's right, babes. You're getting into it with this baking vegan bread at home with lots of tips and tricks for making plant-based breads as good as or better than the originals. This path-breaking book will have you baking deeply flavorful and incredibly healthy vegan breads in no time. Here he is to tell us all about it. It's Shane Martin. He's bringing you plant-based recipes that are practical, not pretentious, that anyone can make. It's the creator of the popular food blog, Shane and Simple. Please welcome to the podcast, Shane Martin. Shane, thank you for being here today.
I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Of course, the crowd goes wild. We've got your icebreaker
Yes.
question to start you off here. What are 5 things that make you happy?
Oh man. So first, I would definitely say it'd be my family. Um, so we have 5 kids, and my oldest is married and living in San Antonio, and I'm going to be a grandfather in November. So I'm super
Woo-hoo!
excited about that. And my son's in college; he's a senior and engaged, and then I have 3 daughters at home. So we kind of have these feet in both worlds. But I would have to say, definitely my family number one. But when we're all together, that's that's number one. So because those times are becoming few and far between. So
Sure.
number two would have to be music. I've been a musician since I was 5,
What do you
and
play?
outside of the my main instrument is guitar, but I'm kind of a utility guy. I play mandolin and bass and drums, and but guitar is my main instrument. So I wrote for Sony Music in Nashville back in the '90s for a little while, and then Pamplin Music Publishing, and then I was a touring guitar player with some country artists and
Who?
CC. I went out my first. This was a long time ago. My first tour, my first major gig was with a group called Shadaisy.
I know who
Uh,
Shadaisy is.
okay, yeah, I was on their first tour, and then I did some stuff with Linda Davis and Rebecca Lynn Howard, and we were out on tour with
I'm
couple.
sorry. My husband's
What?
sitting over here. David, this gentleman I'm talking to played guitar for Linda Davis. I can't tell you, Shane, I love that woman. I love her.
Mm-hmm.
People don't love her enough, and it's my sadness to this day, because she to me is A plus, A plus. I cut you off because I got so excited.
No, no, no. She was. I did a couple gigs with her, but she is as sweet as she appears. Like we had this rehearsal for a couple of big shows she had, and they had this rehearsal room basement at her house out in Hermitage, Old Hickory, Tennessee. And we went over, and her daughter sings with Lady A,
Yeah, yeah,
Lady
Hillary.
Annabella, Hillary. So Hillary was like 13, 14 years old and was like a little mom to her littlest sister because Linda had just had a baby. And we go over, and Linda's cooking like pot pie for us, all the like just business as usual. She just was as sweet as she could be. So if I could have had that gig long term, I would have totally taken it just because of how sweet she was. I mean,
Yeah,
she and Lane were that kind. So, um, but yeah, so music would be number two.
love it.
Um, and then number three would be the mountains. I'm a big mountain freak. We love going to the mountains for vacation. That's my happy place. And I just got back from Asheville, North Carolina last
Great.
week. So,
Where did you
so
have any good food in Asheville?
oh gosh, man. Yeah, we were. And you know what's so great about Asheville is they have some great vegan restaurants,
Yeah.
but even the restaurants that aren't vegan have great vegan options,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So Jerusalem Cafe was amazing. Um, and then we found a great Indian place, great Thai place. Um, so yeah, all that to say, we had great food and great beer. So
Yeah, yeah. Asheville's got that,
um,
that's for sure.
yeah, and great coffee. Drippolator in Black Mountain is my favorite coffee spot. It
Awesome.
just so yeah, which leads me into number four. Number four is coffee. That makes me
Ah,
really
very
happy.
good.
So, and then I would have to say five. We've been renovating like this 100-year-old craftsman style house for the last 2.5 years, and I'll never renovate another house. It's not like HGTV lies, man. It's nothing like HGTV. So, but I do like to build things. And so when I can see the end result or something, that's what makes me happy. The manual labor part of it can be a drag sometimes, but I love to see the end result when it's done.
So
So,
holding the finished book in your hand feels very good, but the process is probably very daunting.
yeah, it depends on the part of the process.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know if you saw my little thing on Instagram, but I cried when my wife brought the box in and I just opened it and held it and I like taking the pictures. Like
Yep.
that's
Yep.
the photography part brings me joy. But
Yeah.
anything that's administrative drives me up the wall. It's like prison. So,
I hear you. I have to really like set my brain aside for that. Like be like, oh, my brain is devoted to this for the next 3 hours. That's what I'm doing.
yes.
Well, that's all. That's a very good list of five. My five are pretty straightforward. My dog makes me happy. My dog makes me very, very happy. My husband makes me
Okay.
happy. My cat makes me happy. She might be on the list as number three only because I felt bad having my dog and my husband on there, and I felt like I was leaving her out. And then music makes me happy. Music makes me very, very happy. Singing makes me happy. And then the last one is live theater and concerts
Oh wow.
make me happy, or creativity, being around it. So all of those things. So
Yes.
that's great.
Yeah,
A
we're
list
very
of five happies.
yes. I need to remember those more often though, to be honest
Same.
with you.
Same.
I need to
Yeah. And we don't need to stop at five. We can create a list of,
No.
we can create a new five every day, even if we want to.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So everyone out there listening, create your five right now or after you're done listening to us, because now we're going to get
Right.
into it. You are a Mississippi meat-eating boy gone vegan. So when did cooking begin for you, and when did it shift over to plant-based cooking?
I you know, so growing up in a very rural part of Mississippi, we were fairly blue collar. My parents were my dad was a highway patrolman, so worked for the state, and then my mom worked as a secretary at legal offices, law offices, and um, so both parents worked. So kind of growing up in the South and out in the outside the city limits, which, not a very big city, you kind of fend for yourself growing up. So you're learning to put things, if you don't want to starve during the summer when your parents are working, if you don't want to eat hot dogs every day, so cooking has always been a part of something that I love to do. Um, but so the kitchen was never odd or a
Mhm.
stranger for me. But I think when kind of things kind of took a turn was back in 2013, and it was a couple weeks before my 40th birthday, and I had over the years gotten up to about 300 pounds and was just very unhealthy. And all the blood work was terrible, and we just had our fifth child, and so you're kind of rethinking things in life. And I had I had tried everything to like lose weight. I had done paleo and fat grams and Atkins, and I could lose weight fairly quickly, but I always gained it back even faster. And I remember getting up early one Sunday morning and just remembering I've got to do something. Like it was terrible. I was getting staph infections and they wouldn't heal, and diabetes. I mean, it was terrible. And a friend of mine that I knew from my Nashville days, I saw where he had dropped a bunch of weight and got really healthy. And he was actually on Rich Roll's podcast early on. And um, he was out of the country. And so I couldn't get in touch with him. So I contacted a mutual friend of ours. And I said, man, what is Thad doing? And he said, man, Thad went vegan. And of course, I tell people this all the time. I mean, my stereotype of a vegan was somebody that ate bark and grass and never
The hippie
showered,
vegan.
that
Yeah.
kind of the hippie
Uh-huh.
vegan. And so anyway, but he just said, watch forks over knives. And I think that's
Mhm.
a lot of people's entry into the world, and of veganism or plant-based eating. And so my wife and I sat down that Sunday night and watched it. And I was just like, I was sold then.
Mhm.
And then I like immediately became the world's biggest Rip Esselstyn fan.
Yeah.
And but I think the thing that, and so from then on out, it was a challenge the first month. My wife and I talk about like trying to figure out how to cook again. But then I realized it really wasn't as complicated as we make it out to be. And
Right.
so, um, and realized we were already, I was surprised at the misinformation that was out there just about certain foods like potatoes and,
Mhm.
complex carbs and, whole grains and stuff like that. And I started realizing that apart from the butter and the lard, I mean, we were eating not a lot of a plant-based diet with the breads and the
Yeah.
grains and beans and corns and potatoes. So we're just eliminating the bad stuff. But I think for me, once my palate readjusted, because we kind of went with, we definitely went more of the whole food plant based
Sure.
aspect without the oils and things like that. And so after about a month, and our palates felt like they recalibrated. I think for me, what I enjoyed about cooking was I started just digging in and learning how things work together, and learning how to make cheeses with nuts. Or I found Lindsay Nixon, Happy
Mhm.
Herbivore, and
Yeah.
I bought all of her books on my iPad, and so she was a big influence. And
Well,
again, here I am.
here you are, and we're here to chat about your book, Baking Vegan Bread at Home. But of course, we've mentioned shaneandsimple.com. That's your blog. It's got everything. We're going to talk about the bread. We're going to get into it. Don't worry. But on that blog, listeners, you can get everything from Shane, from breakfast, appetizers, salads, and desserts to the main entree, sides, soups, and stews, and even dressings and sauces. He's got you covered. So, listeners, we may be chatting all about the bread on this episode without apologies because bread is everything. But I wanted you to know you can get much more from Shane at his website. So, speaking of books, I ask all of my guests this: what is the first plant based or vegan cookbook you owned when you did start your journey, or one that you owned and like that you cooked the most from that you remember?
Uh-huh. I would say the very first hard book was the Engine 2 Diet.
Okay, that
That
makes sense
that
for
was
you
it.
with what you said. Yeah.
Yes, but I would say digital copies would have been again Lindsay Nixon's,
Hmm.
her 3 cookbooks, like Everyday Herbivore or Everyday something like that, and then her Holiday.
Yep.
Um, but those would have been the first 3 digital. But yeah, the first hard copy I had was the Engine 2 diet.
Engine 2 diet. There you go. Well, now we're going to dive into your book, Baking Vegan Bread at Home. So you start the home cook off. See if I get this on the screen here. You start the home cook off with the pleasures and craft of vegan bread baking, followed by pantry essentials, tools, gluten-free options, tips and techniques, and a general essence of vegan baking. Now, I love
Mhm.
that the title of this includes At Home. Baking vegan bread at home, because making bread from scratch can be very daunting for people, and your style is to make things approachable. So how did
Right.
you go about doing that with bread so that people can feel confident making their own bread at home?
What I tried to do when doing the book was to really, when I started researching recipes and non-vegan breads, is like, what can I do that will still yield a good result that people will be happy to share with others, but is going to make them feel like they can do it, you know?
Yeah.
So it was about looking at the most common ingredients. I tried to steer away from, I think there is again, I'm trying to remember how many there was, everything runs together, but like because you get with you letting yeast proof and things like
Hmm.
that. I tried to. I don't think that I really. I think there is a sourdough, but it's not like one where you had to create the starter and let it sit
Right.
and
Right.
and so I tried to approach it like I would the blog. Like, what is the not the easiest, just to not do the work, because there are some learning curves, but it's like, what is going to be the most efficient and simplest way to get from point A to point B and still have, it's probably not going to win any awards. And I tell people, this is, you know, but are you going to be able to go into the kitchen if you've never baked bread and walk away and going, I made, and that was the goal. Like, people that have never thought they could make, people that thought they could never make bread, they can at least walk out and go, I made it. And
That's
so
perfect.
that was kind of the goal, and just not just like a whole wheat loaf or a sourdough. It's
Sure.
like, I remember when I did the Swiss braided bread and the challah bread. I remember when I finally made the doughs, I was on YouTube learning how to do 4 and 5 braids, and I mean, I was start and stop,
Yeah.
so, and when I got them to where they look like in the book, I just stopped because I'm like, I can't do this any better, but I mean, again, for me, it was a sense of accomplishment, but that was kind of the approach. It's like, this is not about winning awards or becoming a professional baker. It's just for the person at home who has some time on their hands and going, I'm going to try this. And
Yeah.
so
It sounds
this
like
is the result.
a streamlined, Shane and simple approach to bread, which I'm here for, and I think the listeners can appreciate as well. And anyone in your community as well that follows you has probably really gotten on board with this. And we start things out in chapter 1 here. You've got muffins, scones, and other breakfast breads and quick breads, things like old
Hmm.
style English muffins, when life gives you lemon muffins, everyday blueberry muffins, jalapeno and cheddar cornbread muffins, chocolate chip stone scones, healthy baked chocolate donuts, beautiful Belgian waffles. You got some pancakes here and some more muffins, another cornbread, fruity breakfast muffins. So, what is a go to breakfast bread from here in your home?
I would have to say the go-to would be the on page 35, the apple banana oat muffins, because
Mm,
they are just, and the oil-free fluffy pancakes. We do pancakes like every Saturday. Um,
great.
but I would have to say the muffins would be like the apple banana oat muffins. They're just really dense and hearty, and I mean, they're super easy, just
What a
super easy.
beautiful photo, too, for those. My goodness. All the
Um,
photos in this are fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, super easy they look like, and also like very satiating with all those great ingredients in it too.
Yeah, they're very, very filling. So, rolled oats, so you got a lot of fiber and going to keep you full. And now we love the fluffy pancakes, but it's kind of like you're eating a loaf of bread with sugar,
Yeah,
so it's like
I know.
your
I
day
love
is pretty
pancakes
done
so
after
much.
that.
And I try to implement, I'm like, I want to do pancakes every Saturday too, but then I'm like, sometimes I get to Saturday and I'm like, maybe I ate enough pancake-like things this week where I need to skip pancakes this week. It's all about balance, all about finding your balance.
It is. It's right. It keeps us sane. Yes.
Yeah. Chapter 2 is biscuits, buns, and rolls. Deep South homemade biscuits in here. Look at that. You've got rolls in this chapter. So there's only one roll recipe that I've excelled at, and it's in Gaz Oakley's Christmas cookbook. David and I make it every Christmas. It's the smoked red chili pepper and rosemary roll. It's so good. I've tried others before and I've failed. So what is a roll in this chapter I could go for right now that I or anyone else they could just get the book and they could make this roll with success?
I think for me, my favorite ones would be the Better Than Deli sandwich rolls.
Oh,
I was really blown away with how those came out. And the gluten-free vegan dinner rolls were good too, but my favorites had to be like if on page 51 were the picture of those deli sandwich rolls.
Yeah.
That photo was, I never will forget where I was, because you always have those recipes that just come out way better than you ever expected.
Sure.
And so my expectations were exceeded with this recipe. I mean, it's not like but it's like they came out and they poofed up. And so when I was setting this up to take the pictures, I just had the vegan mayo and the mustard, and I had some lettuce and tomato. And of course, there's a lot that's cropped out of the shot. But it was like 1 a.m. And I like to, when I'm taking pictures, I like to have things going on. And one of my favorite things is the old, like the early 5 seasons of SNL. And so I was listening to that in the background off of Peacock while I was shooting. And when I got done shooting and I was convinced I had all the shots, I ate 3 lettuce and tomato and vegan mayo sandwiches with those rolls. One in the morning.
The perfect way to wrap the day, if you ask me.
Yeah, it was. So it was just, so I would say those are like, if you want something, because those are like, they're a little bit bigger than dinner rolls, but I think they work great as dinner rolls too. But yeah, I would say those are my favorites.
I love that you have these in here. What a great chapter. You've also got these sassy sweet potato biscuits. Tell me about those.
Yeah, so those were inspired by, let's see, I think I have it here. Yeah, those were inspired by, I saw Bryant Terry that wrote the Afro Vegan Cookbook. And he was talking about some sweet potato biscuits. And growing up in the South, we love biscuits and we love sweet potatoes. And so I was trying to figure out a way, I thought, man, that sounds good. So I just kind of started dabbling and replacing things. And those just turned out really well. And those were actually on the blog. And then I asked them, I said, can I use those? And they said, yeah, if you have anything that you want to use. So that's where those came from. Were actually on the blog. So they let me use them in the cookbook.
Oh, nice.
And
good.
Yeah. So those were kind of an accident that happened.
Sure.
It was just like, oh, if I replace this, but I love the whole, I don't know, I love curry. So I love coconut milk. And so, yeah, that's kind of how those happen.
Nice.
But yeah, they're very good with a savory gravy.
Biscuits and gravy, one of my favorite things.
Yes.
Another thing I have to find balance with in life. This takes us to chapter 3, everyday loaves. Now, I want to make the rustic homemade rye bread in here. That caught my eye right away. This book came out in March of this year, 2024. So what I love about releasing a cookbook in social media is that you get a sense right away of what recipes people are gravitating towards, right? So sometimes it's something you thought they would, something you're like making a recipe and you're thinking, oh, people are going to love this one. This is gonna be it. And then sometimes that one gets ignored and they go towards something else. Is there something in the everyday loaves chapter that followers have gravitated more towards in this particular chapter?
It's been interesting. The two that people seem to, well, the 3 that people seem, it's the no yeast bread, the Irish soda bread, and the happy hour beer bread.
Interesting.
And I think that's because they're just butt simple. You throw it
Yep.
in there, you mix
Yep.
it, and there's no proofing or anything like that. But out of that chapter, that seemed to be the three that I got the most response on. I tell you what I thought I would get response on when you go back is because this was a new one for me when I started doing research. So I thought I want to know. I Googled European breads, Northeastern breads, Northwestern bread, like even cultures in the United States. And one that I had never heard of was the Anadama bread.
Okay.
And so when I made it, I was like, golly, that's really different because
I've
I
never
think
heard of that either. What is that in this chapter, or what chapter is that in?
yeah, it's on page 71.
Oh, okay.
I think it's not long after it's a couple pages
Oh,
past
you
the rye
call it
bread.
the
But
wicked awesome Anadama bread. So yes, tell me more about that then. What is it?
okay, so the story goes, it was invented in the 19th century in Rockport, Massachusetts, and a fisherman was tired of eating his diet of cornmeal mush. And it says one day he combined these ingredients with molasses and flour and created a bread. And his wife name was Anna, so it came from Anna Damn Her bread. So Anna Damma bread. So it was kind of, I guess he was trying to stick it to his wife or something. I don't know, but it's very. I would say for a bread, maybe it's kind of gamey. Like when people say, "How did that meat taste?" And it goes kind of gamey. It's interesting. It's really good right out of the oven, hot, but it's got this. It has molasses in it, and it's got cornmeal, so it almost
Huh.
kind of has a bit of this cornbread texture. But when it comes right out, it's. I don't want to. It's not savory, but it's kind of got. Again, I feel like I just have to say it's kind of gamey as a bread, but it's kind of
Sure.
got that dark.
Yeah.
It's a difference between a light beer and a dark beer, I
Okay.
guess. And
Okay. I'm
and
intrigued.
so for me, I thought, oh wow, this is really cool. Like I've never heard of it, and it took me 2 or 3 times to kind of develop it and get it right, but I ended up really liking it. And so we made it through one loaf, and then the second loaf I photographed, we gave it away. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, your neighbors must love you, all this bread.
we gave a lot away,
Yeah,
especially
you
on
have
photograph
to.
day.
You
So
have to. Some
yeah.
other great loaves to mention in here. We got hometown sourdough, healthy whole wheat sandwich bread, plain old white bread, that rustic homemade rye bread that I mentioned, oil-free perfect pumpernickel. Actually, I might get in on that pumpernickel, actually. Soft wheat
Yeah.
sandwich bread. And then you mentioned the no yeast bread, that vegan Irish soda bread. I got to say, I've gravitated towards soda bread before because I'm like, oh, that's easy. You just like toss all this stuff together and it's done. So I can get why people
Mhm.
have gone there. We also got that herb pull apart bread and gluten-free sandwich bread. This takes us to chapter 4, which is
Yes.
artisan and European breads. We've got things in here like awesome freaking focaccia, 1 hour olive and roasted garlic bread, vegan buttery brioche, simple spelt and
Mhm.
oat bread, rustic Italian bread, Swiss braided bread, which you've chatted about a little bit there. No knead Dutch oven artisan bread. I love me a no knead Dutch oven bread. I do. I
Oh
do.
yeah.
It's so easy to make and so like night. You put it in there, like comes out, it's done. You got bread, put a little butter on it. Whole wheat artisan bread. Some great stuff in here. It's such a fun chapter, and I'm honing right in on that awesome freaking focaccia because we got this beautiful so many in this book, and I love focaccia so much. So, what's a favorite for you in this chapter?
I would in this chapter, I would have to say my my three favorite, and I love baguettes, but the no knead Dutch oven bread. We've been making that for a long time. I love that, but I would have to say that focaccia bread, just for us, it got knocked out of the park. Like it was so good. We love that, but I would have to say the vegan challah bread and then that
Mm,
Swiss braided bread, that Zopf bread. Those were those did not last long.
yeah,
Like the
sure. I
minute
bet.
it's like we all and the kids were waiting for the photographs to get done because the house just smelled. And so I would have to say those three breads are
Yeah,
just. But here's the thing: even though I tried to make it as simple, it takes so much freaking time to braid. It's like
yeah,
those are treats. They don't get made
yep,
very often, if
yeah,
ever.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. But that's nice. You got a good variety in the book then. Some things that, take a little more effort but I'd say from looking at the recipes and just flipping through here and just the selection you have, it still stays, you got to have those things. A book is about learning as well. So people get
Yeah.
to, not just sit back and have it all just be easy breezy, but there's got to be some recipes in there that will help challenge people as well. So I think that's great. You've got
Oh,
that in there.
now I will say one of the most challenging, but I forgot about this one. That Japanese milk bread that's in there.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I don't even
Mm.
know how to describe it. Like that was definitely one of our, now that I'm remembering, that was a process, but man, it was worth every
It's
moment of the
worth it,
process.
right?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's worth it.
Mm.
It's funny, those
Uh,
rolls I told you that I now can excel at every holiday that my husband and I make. Like, it took a couple of years before we got into a system with it. You know what I mean? And now we look
mhm.
forward to it every holiday. But there's just some breads where it's like, once you kind of get it down, it becomes this sort of, it's a
Mhm.
fun thing to make. But sometimes it's about getting in there and doing the thing and seeing how things go and learning.
Yeah.
Everybody, you get to learn some when you open a book. That's the fun part.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. That Japanese milk bread was one that it was worth the trouble to learn, because I had never made bread where you had to, it's basically becomes four different pieces of dough and you roll it up and you stick
Right.
it in the loaf pan and then it bakes together and it just, I mean, it was indulgent. I, I I'll have to say this, sadly, it was one of those where you don't stop when you should, and then after you realize how much you've eaten of it,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
you're not feeling so good. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying?
I
So
understand.
that was that recipe.
Yep. I understand. I understand. Well, it's all that just makes me want to make it.
Yeah. Oh,
So
it's
I'm
so
here
good.
for it. It takes us into chapter 5, which is veggie, nut, and seed breads. I feel like this one's a little more out of the box here with veggie, nut, and seeds here, but that just
Yeah.
leads to some out of the box fun creations. Most people love peanut butter, so give us a look into the old fashioned peanut butter bread. What's that recipe about?
Yeah. So my grandmother and somebody had, I guess, Reader's Digest, or there was a Depression era cookbook, and there was, I guess, during when in the Great Depression, and somebody had made this recipe, and I was trying to remember. It was, when they didn't have butter and things like that, and so they just kind of started using what they had, and I made it one day for the blog, and I was surprised. Yeah, I was just looking back at the story. So I had found the version of an old recipe from, it was in the 40s, that belonged to my great grandmother, and a lot of families, they didn't, during the Great Depression, they just didn't have access to fresh ingredients and stuff like that. So they were just using pantry ingredients, and peanut butter would be something that was always there. And they would use butter in the original recipe and dairy. So I just kind of went and experimented with it. I was expecting like this dessert bread,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not overtly sweet, but you get the peanut butter. So it's almost like a jar of peanut butter in the bread. And when you put, like, it's perfect for putting jelly on without peanut butter. I mean, you just kind of get those,
I love
but
that.
yeah, but it just turned out incredibly well. And so, and again, the thing about these seeded breads, what's so great about them is I don't think hardly any of them have yeast in them. So there's no
Right.
rise. You just put them in and they bake. And
Yep.
so I found these to be like really fun to make, because you could just throw everything together and you throw it in a loaf pan or shape it and stick it on a baking
For
stone and push it in the
sure.
oven. And so I love that. So, but yeah, it was just a recipe I stumbled upon, and like I said, originally I made it for the blog, but it was so good, I was like, I have to include it, because
Oh yeah.
it's one of my favorites.
That's great, and there's so many good ones on it. I love that that's got some history on it too. That's always fun to put something in a book that's got a little family tie there
Yeah.
to it. Some great things in here. We got a no need cheddar onion bread that's screaming for me to make it. Seeded
Yes.
spare bread, loaded sour cream and chive bread, no need
That
olive
is
bread.
that is awesome. The loaded sour cream and chive bread.
How can it not be?
Just
Listen to the title. Come on.
yes. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
stuff.
Awesome.
Morning muesli bread, tree hugger nut and seed bread. I feel like you're yelling at me with that book. I feel like you are attacking me with the title of that recipe. Uh,
That's definitely that's a phrase of it's honor, man. It is
yes, yeah,
honor. That's
absolutely.
pointed at me because I used to make fun of tree huggers, and I'm like, I'm a total tree hugger.
That's right. That's
I'm
right. And you
I'm
got
hugging
the
trees.
yes, you've got the Shane and simple garlic bread. I mean, plain and simple garlic bread. And
Yeah.
then morning glory sunflower seed bread. So lots of great things in that chapter. Chapter
The
6 takes
southern
us to yes,
well,
please.
the sweet potato bread is out of this world.
Oh, I missed that one. Oh, southern sweet potato bread. Tell us about it.
Um, well, the name and the picture says it all. I mean,
Ah,
it just even if
ah,
you don't like sweet potatoes, it is if you I
oh,
tell people if you like banana bread, you will love sweet potato bread.
nice.
It
Is,
is
is there a banana bread in the book?
surely I put one in there.
Now that you said that, there has to be one, right? Oh, you do. Yes.
There
Chocolate chip
yeah, okay,
pumpkin.
okay, okay.
Wait, no, no, no.
Okay.
That's a chocolate chip
Mhm.
pumpkin bread.
Okay, wait a minute.
Oh
It's
wait,
on it's
best
the
damn
first it's
vegan
a
banana bread. It starts off the
yeah,
next chapter. There, we did it. We did it.
okay. Yeah, okay, we got it. We got it.
I got really excited thinking there wasn't one because I was like, "Oh, we're leaning in on this southern sweet potato bread is what we're gonna make it the new banana bread is what I was thinking."
Yes. I would say that it is. I would say that it is. But
I love it. I love it. Well, we do have the banana bread, though, for those hardcore banana bread fans. In the next chapter, Fruit Breads and Sweet Loaves, which is a chapter that is just after my heart with great items like the best damn vegan banana bread, Sunny Day, lemon loaf, gooey cinnamon swirl bread. I'm going to say that again for the listeners. It's a gooey cinnamon swirl bread. I want to make all of these items. Tell me about the apple pie bread.
I, yeah. Um, so that one got made and was supposed to be photographed, but it got eaten really quickly,
There we
and
go.
I wasn't making it again. It's one of those that came out and it was so good.
Yep.
It just, I mean, I don't even know how to describe. It's apple pie and bread. I mean,
Yep.
it's two of your most. You got the American classic, and then you got bread, and that's all I can tell you is if you like bread and you like apple pie, you cannot not make that bread.
Ugh, I mean, it just sounds good. Like, you kidding me with that? I love it so much. And the photo at the front of this chapter is the orange cranberry bread. It's so beautiful, this photo. I love the colors in it. Um, and I again, I know we've said it, but I just want our listeners to know you did all the photography for this, and that is a huge accomplishment, and it just all looks so good. And even these shots that you've got, there's one in here where I was like, surely that has to be a stock photo because it's just so good. It's not though. It's yours. It's yours. They're all yours. And it
Which
was just
one?
it's so good. I can't find it now. Ooh, simple French baguette. This what a great gift book this is for people. Like
Yeah. So if you're listening, you got time to order it and get it before Christmas. So
yes, 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 yes. It was like a long shot. I want to show it to you because I mean, all of them are great, but it was one of those like shots that are a two-pager essentially. Here it is. Look at this beautiful shot with all this gorgeous, gorgeous bread.
oh yeah, yeah. Where is that at? Is that towards the front or the back? I can't
That
remember.
is right after page, so it would be like page 55, 56.
Okay. Yeah. So interesting thing about that. Yeah, that was shot on my kitchen table, my dining room table.
It's
Um,
amazing. Everybody, we're looking at a shot that's around page 56. It's just got all the breads on it. And it's just so
yeah,
beautiful. And a nice scale measuring out the flour there, all the good stuff.
yeah, that was a fun shot to kind of it. Well, I say fun when I got around to it.
Yeah.
And
And once it
interesting
was done,
yesterday,
it was so much fun after it was done.
yeah, I shot that at like midnight just so I could because I like shooting with artificial light
Uh-huh.
predominantly, but I do, but my sister-in-law loaned me the scale. She bought that scale at like Hobby Lobby,
Oh,
and
wow.
I wanted a scale in the bread. But one of the pictures I wanted to show you, and I have to bring this up. So I was really close to my grandfather, and he died back in '95. And he would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, sit at his table, smoke a cigarette,
Uh-huh.
drink a cup of coffee, and eat a piece of toast. And so I wanted to do something to kind of honor him, you know. And so this was in the front of the book. It's after page 19, but it's the picture with the
Oh, yeah,
the
I
picture,
love that.
and so the chair in the back is kind of like
Oh,
symbolizing him, and so it
that's
was,
awesome. What a great photo.
So
Oh, that's so
anyway,
cool.
that's
I love the way you've tied your family into this. This is so great.
so
And it's so fun to learn about
but
that too.
yeah.
Well, we've got,
Now if you're
yeah, tell me.
I was just going to tell you, in the fruity breads, the Sunny Day lemon loaf
Uh-huh.
is my is that's amazing. Of course, the cinnamon swirl bread, but I've got to tell you, the bread that we talk about now is the island coconut pineapple bread. If you were to ask me if you were to
Oh,
make one recipe to start, I would tell you to make that one.
oh.
It's like
Is it
pina colada in a
I
bread. I mean,
I was literally words out of my mouth. I was like, is that gonna be like a pina colada in bread form?
it just I've never my house has never smelled so good.
Because I'm
I mean,
seeing
it
coconut
was.
and pineapple. Is there a picture in here for this one? I want to see the photo.
Oh yeah, page 134.
Oh, there it is. Gorgeous. Oh, I love that. Oh,
Yeah,
good stuff.
it was.
I'm telling you, the sweets chapter is where it's at for me. I could stay stuck in that one. And I love this
I
photo for the sunny day lemon loaf. Oh, I just love a lemon loaf with the glaze on the top. I'm into it.
Yes, and a cup of coffee. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Coffee,
yeah.
that thing that makes you happy. I think number 6 on my list might be bread, though. So going into chapter 7 here, we've got flatbreads, things like easy peasy, whole wheat pita, garlic herb, vegan, non, 2 ingredient
Yes.
corn tortillas, pizza party, pull apart bread. Oh, so good. Rosemary sesame crackers, got some crackers in here. Crunchy breadsticks, 2 ingredient oat flatbread, and 2 ingredient lentil flatbread. Now, what's the easiest flatbread to make for someone who just picks up this book after they listen to us chat about all the bread on this episode? What
Mhm.
flatbread recipe should they make first?
I think the I felt like the 2 ingredient lentil flatbread, the red lentil
Mm,
flatbread, that was because what I learned making that is you can even add a little less water and you get almost a pancake, but then you can add a little more water and you can get almost like a crepe consistency with it. And it's really interesting because I don't want to say it's off-putting. It's just surprising because they look kind of like pancakes, and you're expecting kind of this sweet aspect kind of bread type, but they have this real and really the only ingredients, like, you can add salt and pepper, you can add herbs, you can do whatever. And I kept it really simple. It's just lentils and water,
mm-hmm.
and so it's got a little bit of this. I don't know if musky is a good word, but it's kind of that earthy
Sure.
essence. And
Yeah.
so,
It's
and
lentils.
that's what yeah, it's lentils. And so it's really good to make. And then and I tell people, like, if you want to toss some caraway seeds in there, or more of your earthy herbs, it adds a really nice depth of flavor, but they're great to just make and enjoy with, like, some vegan sour cream spread over them, or vegan
Mm-hmm.
cream cheese with a little of your favorite, like onions. Oh, green onions are great on
Yeah.
it. So I would say if you're looking for something savory and just those are really, really good,
That's
and
great.
just really stupid simple. So
Well, that's the best part. So, listeners, you got a couple 2 ingredient options in here, the 2 ingredient oat flatbread and the 2 ingredient lentil flatbread. So, lots of options to keep things Shane and simple in the Baking Vegan Bread at Home book. Now, Shane, I got to ask you, when it comes to this book, what's your book brag? Something you're most proud of when it comes to this book?
Golly.
Surviving.
Surviving, just getting it finished. I think the thing that hit me most of all was, again, when I had basically it was done, we were done, and then when my wife came in and she said, "Look, I think it's your books," and she brought this big box in, and
Mm,
I opened it. I think the thing that I was really happy with the way the photography turned out, and just, the biggest book brag is I wrote a book. I
yeah.
think, but I think when I held it and just kind of looked, I step back and I just go, "Golly, I did that."
Yeah.
I mean, and it's a million miles from where I was 15 years ago,
Yeah.
or 10
Yep.
years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. I think the fact that I just got it completed and came up with a recipe, it's
Yeah.
like, but I think to hear people say the photography again, though, I think is probably the book brag that I would say, because I it it affects me in a real emotional way, because until when I started the blog, I had never had a camera, I had never taken pictures. I'd been a musician, and so for me, the blog was always a way. It was a creative outlet at a
Mhm.
rough time in my life, and just learning to take photos. And when I guess, when the publisher themselves were already had it hired out, and they come back and said, "Well, why don't you shoot it, and we'll just pay you?" I think to see how it, because I tend to not be like most. I don't want to say this in the wrong way, but for a lot of people that are food bloggers, the photographs, they do great photos, but it's basically an instant means just to kind of get across. And for me, I'm always trying to take people somewhere, in a sense,
Mhm.
and I felt like the book gave me the opportunity to do that more so, and creating a scene or a feeling or an emotion. And so when I got the book and actually saw it in print, it was overwhelming. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just I don't know. I still sit back and I go, I can't believe I got to do that.
Yeah.
And how many people, I don't know. It makes you grateful for everything, and go, golly. And I think for me, I look back at I'm getting kind of off track, but
That's okay.
I can complain a lot. I can be pretty opinionated, and when things aren't going so
Same.
well, I can go kind of crazy. But I look back and I have to remind myself I need to be very grateful, because most people are trying to run publishers down and get book deals. And I get an email saying, "Can you write 2 books for us?" And I'm like, who does that happen to?
Sure.
And so I think for people to recognize that what you do, you don't just feel seen or appreciated, but you feel valued, and so I would say, kind of going back to your original question, probably the book brag I love the recipes, but I look at the photography and I go, there, all the stars had to be aligning during this cookbook or
Yeah.
something, because I, you can always do better, but I don't know what I would have done,
Yeah.
and so for a guy that's, been using a camera for 5 years, 6 years, it makes you feel validated. So
Yeah. I love that. I think it's a fantastic book brag. You did it. You did the gosh darn thing, and you've got the beautiful photography in here to back it up. And it's a wonderful accomplishment, and I'm excited for the next one. Everybody, that is Baking Vegan Bread at Home by Shane Martin. Shane, are you ready for your rapid fire round of questions?
I think so.
All right.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. Favorite pasta shape or type of pasta?
Linguine,
Great. Favorite sauce or condiment to dip bread in?
marinara.
Same. Most used emoji on your phone?
uh, Poop emoji.
Yeah, sure. I don't think you're alone on that. Most popular recipe on Shane and Simple?
Oh gosh, most popular. Um, I have to say, I think based off the repins, it's my chocolate peanut butter hummus.
I want that right now. Yes, please.
uh,
Dream vacation, where would it be?
Prague.
Oh, great. Now I might know the answer to this. You said you were listening to, I think, SNL, but I said, do you listen to music or a podcast when you're recipe testing? But I can change that to, what do you listen to most usually when you're recipe testing?
When I'm recipe testing, um, so if I'm cooking, um, I listen to. I actually have playlist for when I'm photographing, when I'm cooking, different playlists. So typically, I'm listening to instrumental jazz.
Mhm, mhm.
Or 70s playlists like
Okay,
James Taylor, Carole King.
okay.
Um, when I'm shooting pictures, I'm usually I've got Friends or The Office or something like that going, or
Great.
Seinfeld going in the background. So
Sure, sure. Okay. Pancakes or waffles? Your
I just would
face.
have, God, I would I would have to I just would have to say pancakes because we make those more often. But
But I think
so
what's getting me is that I understand the struggle with answering that question. It's
yes,
difficult. It's hard. They're both delicious.
it's these yeah, the struggle is real.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Donuts or cupcakes?
oh, donuts,
Barbecue sauce or hot sauce?
barbecue sauce,
Favorite season?
fall,
Last recipe you tested?
sesame tahini cookies.
Wonderful. And favorite snack currently? Probably sesame tahini cookies.
Favorite snack? I would have to say it is my vegan queso cheese dip.
Ah, that's your rapid fire. Bonus question. Favorite Linda Davis song? It's okay if you can't
Does
remember
he?
this.
Okay. Um, um, I would have to say it was the duet she did with Reba. Does he
All
love you?
right, all
So.
right. That's where it lands for a lot of people. There you go. You did it. That's your rapid fire. So please tell everyone where they can find you online and on social media.
You can find me at shaneandsimple.com. That's where all you get all the recipes. They're free, but I love it if you'd sign up so you get brought up to date when the new one comes out. Facebook is Shane and Simple Cooking. Instagram is Shane and Simple Cooking. And the cool thing about Facebook, there is a Shane and Simple. Now, there's a Shane and Simple page, which is Shane and Simple Cooking, but there's a Facebook group where people can have input and they get to post, and it's a really neat community where people
Nice.
encourage one another. So it's really it just kind of self governs itself, but people get along really great and support one another. It's a great place if you're looking for support and community in your
That's great.
vegan walk. So
Nice place
those are
for
the best places to
connection
find.
there.
Yes,
Wonderful.
absolutely.
Well, Shane, I love bread. I love talking about bread. I love making bread. And most importantly, I love to eat bread. So thank you for this great book. This great book here, everybody. Baking Vegan Bread at Home. Listeners, be sure to get yourself a copy everywhere books are sold. And don't forget to pre order the Vegan Bread Machine Cookbook coming at you this year in November. You can pre order that also everywhere books are sold. Shane, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. It was great to have you on.
Dustin, man, it was well worth the wait. I can't thank you enough, really.
Thank you so much for listening. We'd be so grateful if you would rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. It really does help us.
Yes, thank you so much. And don't forget to check out keeponcookin.com for all of the latest in recipes and Keep On Cooking updates. This has been a Muzzy Cat production.